Hi, all you cool cats and kittens. This is Miss Cunningham here. It's nice to see you online again. I hope you're all well. And it looks like you guys are doing great in Chapter 8, which is graphing quadratic functions. So this is 8.3, Part 2. So let me write that down here. Okay, so if you noticed, last week you already took notes on 8.3. That was Part 1. This is going to be Part 2. So what we're going to do is take last week's information and start actually graphing again. And we're going to be graphing in standard form. So let's go ahead and get started. Perhaps it's a good idea to print off these notes, which I've posted online, and you can do them with me. So they'll look just like mine, and you can fill them out as we do it together. I think that's the best option. And you can keep up, and as always, you can pause and rewind and rewatch some parts you need. And more importantly, you can email me with any questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, so here is nothing new. Standard form of equation is when it's written in descending order. So you've seen this before, ax squared plus bx plus c. They're saying a, the leading coefficient, cannot be 0. If that were 0, then it wouldn't be a quadratic. So that's just, that's not a rule you need to remember. You're always going to have an a value. What's going to be new for us is the y-intercept. So we're going to start talking about that. And the c value is the y-intercept. So what that means is if you had a coordinate plane, your y-intercept is where it's going to hit the y-axis. Remember, this is your y-axis. So say your parabola is facing up and looks like this. This here would be your y-intercept, which would actually be your c value. So we'll look at that in depth in our next slides. The line of symmetry formula is still here. This needs to be memorized. We're going to be using this a lot today. And then finding your vertex. Remember, your vertex is always going to be, the x value is going to be negative b over 2a. And then the y value is going to be when you plug in the x value into the original equation. Okay, so that's what we did last week, and we're going to be doing again today. So a lot of this is going to look familiar. We're just adding on little bits to it, which is very good and important for us as graphers. So let's go ahead and look at it. Our first example is just writing things in standard form. So remember, standard form is when it's in descending order. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so that's standard form. What's happening here is I need to clean this up. So really, you're just going to use your algebra skills to clean this up. So let's go ahead. Now remember, I like to rewrite f of x as y. It just makes me more comfortable. They are the same thing. F of x is just maybe a more advanced way to write it. And at the end, you can rewrite it as f of x. So what I need to do first is actually I need to FOIL out x plus 2 quantity squared. What you cannot do not try to distribute the 5 in. That's breaking order of operations because you have to deal with exponents first. So please do not distribute the 5 in. It'll ruin everything. So let's go ahead and just FOIL out x plus 2. I'm going to do it off to the side. So remember, x plus 2 quantity squared is the same as writing it, x plus 2 times x plus 2. Okay, so that would be x times x, which is x squared, plus 2x, plus another 2x, and then plus 4. All right, so then to clean that up, this would be x squared plus, remember your two middle terms, you add them together, they're like terms, plus 4x plus 4. Okay, so all that work simply FOILing out x plus 2 quantity squared. So to rewrite it over here, it'd go 5 on the outside, parenthesis, I'm going to rewrite all this over here. So x squared plus 4x plus 4, close your parentheses. Okay, so I've rewritten all this so far, and then just subtract 3. So now let's just clean it up. Now I can distribute the 5 in, so this would become 5x squared plus 20x plus 20, and then the minus 3. And then my last step is just combining my two terms here, which is 20 minus 3, which would make 17. So I'll go ahead and clean that up. And then carry everything else down. 5x squared plus 20x. And then it was a plus 17. So there we go. That's written in standard form. If you want to rewrite it as f of x instead of y, you can. It's just asking you to clean it up. You're getting used to using your algebra. You never want to lose your algebra skills. So this here is your answer. Let me go ahead and box it. All right. So I'm going to clear this. And on the next slide, this is a good opportunity for you to pause it and try it on your own. Please be careful of this negative here, okay? Remember, FOIL first, then distribute your -5. Push play once you're ready to pick it back up. All right, welcome back. I hope this problem went well for you guys. Let's go ahead and see how you did. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my writing tool. And I'm going to FOIL out x minus 6. I'm going to do that off to the side. X minus 6 times x minus 6. All right, so x times x is x squared. And then minus 6x. And then it should be another minus 6x because this is a perfect square. And then -6 times -6 is a positive 36. All right, so then that would clean up as x squared minus 12x plus 36. All right, now I'm going to take all that and plug it back into the original. I'm going to change colors here. Let's go to dark. Blue's a little close to the purple. Let's go ahead and do pink. Love my pink. All right, so equals -5 on the outside. And then I'm going to put in parentheses my work that's off to the right. So x squared minus 12x plus 36. Okay, close parentheses. So I've plugged all that in, and then let's go ahead and add 15, which finishes the equation. All right, now let's distribute your -5. Now remember, just be careful because it's negative. People tend to drop negatives. They're so small and easy to lose. So green. All right, so that would give me a -5x squared. -5 times -12x is a positive 60x. And then, -5 times 36. I don't know that in my head. I think it's 180, but I'm going to use my calculator. 5 times 36. Oh, it's 180. When you get to geometry, 36 comes up a lot. So that's what tipped me off that it might be 180. And then let's go ahead and add our 15. All right, so then we got -5x squared. So all I'm doing here is combining like terms. -5x squared plus 60x. And then I'm -180 plus 15. That would be -165. So -165. Okay, so you're going to see a couple of these on your homework. It just wants you to practice getting into standard form. You always want quadratics in standard form because then once you're there, you're able to graph them, which we're now going to move into next. So good job, and let's go to our next slide. All right. What is the y-intercept of the function? So y-intercept, guys, your y-intercept is always the c value, always. So please make it simple on yourself. Now it has to be in standard form, which both of these are. So my c value here is -3. So my y-intercept, okay, remember it's always going to be a coordinate pair. Your y-intercept is always when x is 0. So it's going to be 0, comma, -3. Okay, so your y-intercept is always going to be, in general terms, you could say 0, comma, c. Yes, I do prefer you write it as a coordinate pair, If on the homework it just asks what's the y value, you can just say -3, but read the instructions carefully, see how they want it, if they want it as a coordinate pair or not. And if you're unsure, email me with questions. Okay, why don't you pause and try this second example right below. Okay, welcome back. Your y-intercept is always your c value. So it's in standard form. Here's your c value. So your y-intercept is going to be, it's always 0, comma, in this case it would be 4. That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay, so now this is asking for a lot more. It's wanting 3 different things. Find the y-intercept. Okay, I'm going to call that number 1. Find the axis of symmetry, 2. And find the vertex. So it's looking for 3 different things, okay? The axis of symmetry and vertex are related. To get the vertex, you need your axis of symmetry. This is what you're doing last week. Y-intercept today is new. So let's go ahead and find our y-intercept first. So remember, y-intercept is simply, I'm going to call this number 1. It's just your c value. So you know what, let me go ahead and label my A, B, and C. A is 2, B is 8, C is 7. Okay, so for your y-intercept, it's just going to be 0, 7. Okay. Now for the axis of symmetry, I'm going to go ahead and change colors here. I'm going to do it in red, and I'll circle it in red. The axis of symmetry is always using the equation x equals -b over 2a. So this is a very consistent formula. We use it all the time. So -b over 2a. Okay, so simply you just plug it in. So that would be -8 over 2 times a, which is also 2. So that would be -8 over 4, which is -2. So your axis of symmetry is at x equals -2. Okay, yes, we do always put the x equals. So now let's move on to number 3, and let's go ahead and do that in orange. See if we can see orange, yeah. Okay, so number 3 is finding your vertex. So your vertex, guys, is always going to be in a coordinate pair. Your x value is your line of symmetry. So it's going to be -2, comma, something. We have to find the y value. To find the y value, remember this is y. So y equals, so what I'm going to do is take -2 and plug it in for x to find y. So y equals, so here I'm just simply writing the equation, substituting in -2 for x. I always show my work because I don't want to mess up on something simple like this. You know, we're almost done, and it would be such a shame to miss the last part. It's so easy to make little mistakes at the end. All right, now let's just clean it up. So -2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Remember, do not distribute the 2 in because you have to do exponents first. Okay, now 8 times -2 is -16. And then plus a 7. So now I'm just going to clean up left to right. So 8 minus 16 is -8. And then plus a 7. So that leaves me with -1. So this -1 is your y value, which goes all the way back up into your vertex as the y value. So 2, -1. This is also all going to be really nice information to help us graph. Okay, so I'm going to clear the screen. And I would like, well, this one's a little hard. Let's skip down to this one first. We'll go back up and do the decimal next. I don't want to hit you with a decimal on your first alone example. So pause this here and please find the y-intercept, axis of symmetry, and vertex on your own. Push play when you're ready. All right, welcome back. First thing I'm going to do is label my A, B, and C. A is 4, B is 2, C is 15. All right, so my y-intercept is always the easiest. Let's go ahead and find that in orange. Your y-intercept is going to be 0, comma c, so that's going to be 0, comma 15. All right, not so bad. Now my axis symmetry requires the axis symmetry formula, which is x equals negative b over 2a. I hope my singing didn't shatter your glass on your computers. I was not gifted with the amazing skill of singing, sadly, for my family. Okay, so x equals negative b, so that would be a negative 2 over 2 times a, and a is 4. Okay, so I see I'm going to have a fraction. That's okay. Let me clean this up. So that's negative 2 over 8. So this looks like it's negative 1/4. All right, so my line of symmetry is that x equals negative 1/4. Don't freak out on decimals and fractions. They're doable. You can manage them. Worst case scenario, you can turn it into a decimal. So if you said negative 0.25, that's great. And I would obviously accept it, okay? If it's online, if your homework's online, please read if they say specifically answer in fractions or decimals, because it does matter if they specify. If it doesn't specify, either answer's fine. All right, let's go ahead and find the vertex. So that would be number 3. So your vertex is always your x value, which is negative 1/4. And then your y value, when you plug in negative 1/4. We're going to have to plug this in to see. So I'm taking this equation here. Remember, this is usually when people freeze up. And I like to say when you're frozen, always take x and plug it back in. This is usually when people are like, what do I do next? Take x, plug it back in. So y equals 2. Negative 1/4 squared plus 2 times negative 1/4 plus 15. Okay, so let's see here. I got a square negative 1/4, so that would be 2 times positive 1/16. Because remember, a negative square is positive, and then you just square the numerator. So 1 squared is 1, 4 squared is 16. Okay, and then this I'm going to distribute, so this would become negative 2/4. Oops, I guess I don't need. So, actually, let me go ahead and just reduce this, because negative 2/4 is also 1/2. So that would make it a half. I need to erase this. I have too many negatives going on here. Okay, so let's see, minus 1/2. And then plus 15. Oh, wow. Okay. We've got a lot of fractions. Okay, let's go ahead and clean up this guy here. 2 and 16. Let's go ahead and make this an 8. So then this would give us, let me get back to my blue here. 1/8 minus 1/2 plus 15. All right, guys, so we have options to turn it into a decimal, but I'm going to keep it as a fraction because I think that's what everyone needs the most work in. So to get a common denominator, everything should be over 8, okay, because this is your biggest denominator. So then that means I need to multiply this by a 4/4, and then I need to multiply this by an 8/8. This way I get a common denominator. So this would then give me, back to my blue, 1/8 minus 4/8, and then 15 times 8, I don't know. It's 120. So plus 120/8. Okay, so then this will give me 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. -3 plus 120, that would give me 117 over 8. Wow. All right. I know that looked messy. It's doable. You just got to be patient. And that is your y value of your vertex, 117 over 8. Let me erase this comma because it looked like a 1. Okay, thank you for sticking with me on that. So I'm going to scroll up because I want to do the example above. I know it's decimals, but it's important because you notice there's no C value. So this again is asking for 3 things: y-intercept, line of symmetry, and your vertex, okay? So your y-intercept is always going to be, oops, get my drawing tool here. Got dark. Why is it dark? There we go. Okay, so your y-intercept is going to be 0, C value. All right, A is 0.3, B is 1.2, C is, there's no C value, so it's 0. Okay, so your y-intercept is 0, 0. All right, well, that's not so bad. I like that. We'll take it. Now, for 2 to find your line of symmetry, let's go ahead and do that in red. So that would be x equals. X equals -b over 2a. Okay, so this would be -1.2 over 2 times 0.6. Excuse me, 0.3. Looks like I was already multiplying in my head. So guys, you're welcome to use a calculator. I'm going to go ahead and do this by hand because it's doable. I just want to show you a little trick with decimals. So first of all, 2 times 0.3 is 0.6. All right, so a trick with fractions and decimals is you can actually move the decimals as long as you move them the same amount on top and bottom. So really what you're doing, I'm going to multiply both sides top and bottom by 10. So this would turn into -12 over 6, which would then give me a -2. So that's a trick you can always do. So your line of symmetry is x equals -2. Ooh, that turned out nice considering we had very ugly numbers to start with. All right, so that's the answer to number 2. Now to find my vertex, running out of room over here. I'm going to make a little space here. Okay, so my vertex will be -2, whatever the y value is when we plug it in. So that'll be y equals 0.3 times -2 squared plus 1.2 times -2. Okay, let me change the color. So this will give me, so -2 squared is 4, so it's going to be 0.3 times 4. And then this will give me minus 2.4. So this will then give me, clean this up, 1.2 minus 2.4. So that'll give me a -1.2. All right, so my vertex is -2, -1.2. Guys are doing great. Okay, we already did this one. Whew. So let's scroll right past that. And let's go ahead and pause it here and have you take it away. Push play when you're ready for the answers. All right, welcome back. So your y-intercept is going to be 0, C value. So that would be 0, 17. Your line of symmetry is going to be x equals negative b over 2a. So that'll be negative, oh, let me identify my a, b's, and c's because you've got a lot of negatives here. A is negative 1, b is negative 6, c is 17. Okay, so then this will then become negative 6. Please be careful with your negatives. You've got so many in this one. Times 2 times negative 1. All right, so my two negatives up top cancel. So it's going to be 6 over negative 2, so that's a negative 3. So x is negative 3. Okay, so that's your line of symmetry. Now let's go ahead and find your vertex. So it's going to be negative 3, comma, whatever you get for your y value, and let's plug it in. So y equals negative, parentheses, negative 3 squared minus 6 times negative 3 plus 17. Okay, now remember, exponents first, do not distribute those two negatives through. So it's going to be negative, and then negative 3 squared is a 9. And then negative 6 times negative 3 is positive 18. And then plus 17. Whew, this one's coming out nice. I like it. All right, so then negative 9 plus 18 is positive 9. And then plus 17. So 9 plus 17, I believe, is 26. Yes, I used a calculator. I doubted myself. You know how bad I am with small numbers and adding them. I don't want to make a little mistake, especially when I'm recording this. So my vertex is negative 3, comma 26. So obviously our objective today is to just hammer in your ability to find the y-intercept, axis of symmetry in vertex. And then on our next lesson, we're going to put it all together and start graphing it. Here we are. So I'm going to stop for today, and your homework is just hammering in finding y-intercept, axis symmetry, and vertex. When we pick up on the next lesson, which will be part 3, you're going to tie it all in and graph, okay? I hope you're having a wonderful day, and email me with any questions. Thank you so much.